Hey everybody, it's Aldo Gandhi, and I just want to let you know really quickly that our swag shop is reopened. DeepDishTees.com is where you go, and that's tees with T-E-E-S. Clever name, guys. They're the new home of our merchandise. You can get t-shirts, you can get caps, you can get coffee mugs, you can get hoodies, you can get all sorts of good stuff, and you'll help out the bar room with the purchase. So head over to DeepDishTees.com.
Going to Wrigley Field was a huge, unforgettable deal that impacted my life.
Well, I think the Cubs winning based upon the gap was one of the biggest championships that have happened in any American sport in a really long time.
The first day that they introduced me, I said, baseball matters on the north side of Chicago. It's one of the, I love baseball and I love fan bases where it's important.
Well, I always hated the idea of the Cubs as lovable losers because I don't think there's anything lovable about putting an inferior product in front of baseball fans.
It would be the highlight of my career to see that happen and to get a chance to call it. And it didn't disappoint.
I auditioned for the new kid. His name was Billy Crystal. I don't know whatever happened. But I'm on the Chad and Ryan show.
Welcome to Friendly Confines, Extra Innings with Chad Gordon and Ryan Lieber.
Welcome in, everybody. It's time for the extra innings of the Friendly Confines. That's Chad. I'm Ryan. Happy Monday, everybody. Cubs and Brewers are coming at you. We hope you can enjoy us, have the Cubs game on in the background as we talk about the past week and, of course, previewing the week ahead for the Chicago Cubs. Chad, yikes. That was just yuck all the way around. We'll get into that weekend with the Dodgers and just how rough that was the past three games. You were at some of those contests, so we can get some insight from you on that. So let's just jump right into it. First, Dodger doinked the Cubs after an impressive first game. We'll get into that no-hitter, but let's just talk about the series overall, Chad. Other than that first game, to me, the Cubs looked lifeless. They looked like they were out of touch with the better teams, and I just didn't think they could compete in this series. You were at two of these games. What did you see from the Chicago Cubs ball club, and how concerned were you in the two games that you had to watch them play over the weekend?
Yeah, different perspective on my side. And I've got a little bit of feedback. Are you hearing that on your end, Ryan? Oh, there we go. It's gone. But yeah, different perspective. I mean, the game on Friday, which was it was a game where the bullpen it got away from him, and it got away from him late. You know, it was a good battle. It was a back and forth, and it was tied up right there until the bullpen had a very rare implosion, and we haven't seen that literally in weeks, in nearly 2 months. And so that was one where you just go, okay, this is a Dodger team that just got their butts handed to them by the Padres getting swept, just got no hit on Thursday. They had to do something on their end. And there's been a lot of talk that the Dodgers dugout, or clubhouse rather, came together and said, we got to turn this around. So they had a lot going on in their perspective on their home turf. The Saturday game was one of those great games that I go, this is a loss that I'll remember. I mean, anytime you have an opportunity to see a ninth inning, 2-out, tie game, walk-off home run with an MVP in Cody Bellinger, that was a tough battle. That game could have went either way. That was not a dominating yuck game to me. That was a game where the Cubs just didn't get the last swings. I think whoever batted last on Saturday is going to win that game. Sunday was bad. Sunday was Kershaw at his epicness. Alzolay absolutely did not have it that day, but he has had it. He's been almost the staff ace in the last month and a half. So I'll chalk that up to not a really good one. But no, I mean, yeah, you never like to lose a series. You never like to lose 3 out of 4. But I remind all the viewers, the Cubs have won the season series against the Padres. They've won the season series against the Mets. And now, with that one win, that no-hitter on Thursday, won the season series against the Dodgers. It's a long season. We're not even halfway through.
Yeah, I just don't like the trend that I'm seeing from this baseball team right now. You know, they had the no-hitter. We'll talk about that. But in the next 3 games, I mean, you talked about how the Dodgers had to kind of come together. You had the Dodgers on the ropes. That was an opportunity for the Cubs to capitalize and say, hey, we've got all the confidence in the world. We just got a huge victory over arguably one of the best teams in baseball, and you can't capitalize on that. And then they go out and they score 2 runs, and 1 run. This offense right now is broken. They're not looking good. They're struggling right now. And as you said, eventually this bullpen is going to get taxed. And here's a stat for you. The Cubs rank 22nd in baseball for starting pitchers per start at 4.94 innings per game. They're not even averaging 5 innings, basically under 5 innings a game that their starters are throwing. It's getting concerning for me right now, Chad, and we're going to know a lot. I said this before. We will know either way if this team will be sellers or buyers by July 31st. There's not going to be an in-between. We will know this team is either going to be out of it or they're going to be straight in it. And right now, unfortunately, though, in my opinion, they're trending in the wrong direction.
No, I mean, if you look at if you look at baseball standings right now, the Cubs would be leading the East, and they're going up against right now a hot Brewers team who has actually been pretty lights out of late, and we're going to see how the next 3 days go. But that Dodgers team, it's to say the Cubs blew it by not beating the Dodgers where they had their 5th straight loss. The Dodgers are a very good team, and they're going to give them some scraps. But yeah, not necessarily what you wanted. And remember, you and I both said going into this month, if they go 500 this month, then that is going to be a victory for us. So this coming week is really going to let us know what we think about this month.
Do you agree with Santiago with what he's saying that maybe the Cubs could use Kyle Schwarber right now?
Oh my God. Yeah. I wanted to put that in the rundown last week. I mean, Kyle Schwarber is doing things that we saw Kyle Schwarber do in 15 and then a very limited sample size in 16. But, unfortunately, he got caught lollygagging a few times last year, and he was one of the guys that just wasn't doing it and definitely wasn't getting on base. But now he doesn't need to get on base when every ball he hits is out of the park. So now, yeah, coming off that National League Player of the Week, I would trade Schwarber for Peterson straight up. Yeah, that's one where I just think they needed to make a move. We talked about that, and now it's if Schwarber continues on this run, it's going to look really bad for this Cubs front office. So let's move on to the 11th inning, and yes, history was made. It's rare to make history in this game, but it always seems to happen almost on a daily basis with 150 some games and hundreds of thousands of games in Major League Baseball. The Cubs on Thursday at Dodger Stadium pitched their 16th no-hitter of all time, the first ever combined no-hitter in the Cubs' storied history. I believe something like 22,000 games in the Cubs' history. Cubs are the first team in history also to throw a no-hitter, solo or combined, against a team with 3 former MVP winners in the starting lineup: Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Albert Pujols. Here's one I love, and I know we've got the White Sox crew. I wonder if they're going to be watching this, but White Sox fans were so salty, Ryan. A combined no-hitter. Why are we even getting excited about this? It's not a real no-hitter. What say you, Ryan? Because for me, that was just as exciting as a no-hitter, and I've seen a couple in person.
Yeah, no, it was great. And I mean, listen, a no-hitter is a no-hitter. No matter how you get it done, I think it's more exciting if it's one guy that does it. I think that's fair to say. I got to be honest, I was a little disappointed that Zach Davies didn't at least get an opportunity to throw the no-hitter on his own. He had gone 6 innings. He was pitching beautifully. If he gives up a hit, then take him out of the game. I don't quite understand. It's funny because when David Ross took over this team last year, we were all saying, oh, Joe Maddon would have taken Kyle Hendricks out in the 5th inning, or, Joe Maddon would have done this. The good thing about David Ross is he's letting the pitchers pitch. He's not doing that anymore. I mean, he's not allowing these guys to go more than 5-6 innings tops. Maybe Hendricks gets to go occasionally 7, if that. I'd like to see the starters go a little longer. I think it's starting to tax the bullpen. And while we had a great outing from, the big three in the pen of Tepera, Chafin, and Kimbrel, again, at the end of the day, if we get a stinker like Sunday where Adzale can't go more than, an inning plus, you're in a bind and you're going to be pushing the bullpen to the brink. So, I mean, listen, it was great. Kimbrel didn't even know they had thrown a no-hitter, which I thought was hysterical. Wasn't really paying attention in that regard. But I would like to see the starting pitchers at least go a little longer than the 5 and 6 innings that we've seen if they're pitching well, because the longer they pitch, the less you have to rely on the bullpen. But either way, it was a great start to the series. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth when I know what happened the next 3 games. So it kind of washes that good feeling away a little bit to me.
I was on the edge of my seat. I listened, every single pitch. It was incredible excitement. And again, history, just to be able to say just those few no-hitters in this franchise history, the first time it's ever been done with multiple. I don't really have an issue with Davies getting pulled because look at his history. He's not a 110 pitch pitcher. And if he went back out into that next inning, there's no way he's even going to get through it. So why not do what you've been doing with Tepera, Chafin, and Kimbrel? And that's what they did. They locked it in. For me, again, a win is a win is a win, and it's still a no-hitter. I don't hear Davies complaining because he wasn't going to go the distance, Ryan. For him to have to go the distance, he was going to have to pitch 130, 140 pitches. That ain't happening under any stretch, no matter the circumstances. We weren't talking about a perfect game. We were talking about a no-hitter. It's a part of Cubs history. And, yeah, I wouldn't have brought him out. I mean, what we saw with Tepera, Chafin, and Kimbrel is exactly what you want. You want to get the win. You want the bullpen to do what it does, and they just made history while doing it. And you're right, Kimbrel. I just can't believe that Kimbrel had no flipping idea that it wasn't a no-hitter. That to me is just absolutely ridiculous. But then again, closers are just psychopaths. They don't think like all of us do.
Let Davies go out there. If he gives up a hit, then take him out.
Why? But why? Just so he can get one more out? He's not getting the no-hitter, Ryan. He's not going to go 140 pitches.
Give him the opportunity to do it. Give him the opportunity.
No, he's not going 140.
You get one chance of a lifetime to possibly get a no-hitter. Give him the shot to do it.
That makes no sense. You're not going to throw Davies 140 pitches. Minimum, he would have thrown 140 to get out of that game.
Give him the opportunity to do it. That's all you got to do. Give him the opportunity. Let's move on to the 12th inning.
Blow your starter's arm.
Moving on to the 12th inning. Give him the opportunity. Jason Hayward, who had an opportunity to, speaking of opportunities that got taken away, Jason Hayward in the 12th, as we move on to the 12th inning, the Cubs deadlocked in this game with the Dodgers. Jason Hayward looks like he appeared to hit an opposite field home run on Saturday, but it was taken away. The ump on third base initially called the home run. He had the best view out of everybody. And then he decides to go over to the second base umpire and they decide to change it and decide to take it away from him. This is obviously a horrible, call, and obviously a terrible break for the Cubs. It stunk to see, but again, listen, and Jason Hayward's actually been playing pretty well all of a sudden. I'm not sure what cereal he's been eating because, he's actually hitting over 200 now, amazingly. But, it's a shame that this happened, but I will still say that the Cubs still needed to overcome this and be better than this because things like this happen regardless of whether it was a bad call or not. It was a bad break, Chad.
Yeah, it was. So I was at that game as well. And first off, kudos to Jason Hayward. I mean, we were writing his obituary the last 2 weeks of shows, both on the podcast and in the studio show. The guy's got his average over 200. And if he continued trending this way, it's going to be a big positive. But let me tell you about, so I started out down the right field line and there was not a cloud in the sky, which is how it is in LA. And it was so flipping hot. And we had to move. We had to get in the shed. It was just hot. It was 81 degrees, which is rare for LA. So we're moving around. We end up from the 7th inning until the end of the game in the left field bleachers. So it's foul pole, Dodgers bullpen where we were sitting. And first off, that ball just jumping off of Jason's bat did not look like a fair ball, even from my perspective. But then as it got closer, I'm like, that is right by the pole. I had a great view of it. I could not tell where it was. I saw by the reaction of everybody behind there, nobody was fighting it. And there were Cubs fans behind that foul pole. Nobody was waving the other way. Nobody was going nuts. So I have to trust that they got the call right. Jason Hayward himself said, I didn't see it and had no idea. But I mean, what a game changer that would have been. Imagine he hits that home run. Kimbrel has to come into the ninth, and this team closes it down. We're looking at a split. I mean, that was a series changer, not a season changer, but definitely a game changer. But kudos to Jason for getting the ship righted, it looks like, and hopefully he can continue to trend up. And he has been doing a nice job, I think, is going to the other side of the field and getting more use of that side of the field. I'd like to see him do more when they put the big shift on. But yeah, I don't think it was a bad call. I think that it was one of those things that there was doubt. The third base umpire had some extreme doubt on himself, brought people together, and he was overruled by the rest of the crew. And as you saw on the broadcast and what Aldo just showed us on it, there's no video proof that it was on the other side of the pole. And all I can say from being about 45 feet away, I didn't see anybody going nuts with a Cubs hat. And there was a lot of Cubs fans there. They would have went nuts if it was fair.
Yeah, either way, it's kind of just odd to me that the ump couldn't stick with his original call. He had the best view out of everybody. If he called the home run, there's no need for him to go to the other umpires and say, hey, was that fair or was that foul? Regardless, you got to score more than 2 runs. Yes, I understand we can play the what-if game. Well, if it was fair, the Cubs maybe would have won. Well, they may not have won. Maybe the Dodgers scored more runs in the next inning. I'm more concerned, Chad, about the fact that this team is not scoring enough runs. The offense has fallen asleep in this series. And even after they scored, the 4 in the first game, they got outscored 16-5 in the next 3 games by this Dodger ball club. I'm okay with a team losing, but show me some fight. And I'm just not seeing it right now in this team. So to me, that's where I was a little more concerned than anything else. But yes, Jason Hayward, it's still a long season, but at least it's nice to see he's, shooting the ball all over the field a little bit and spraying it out to get his batting average up a little bit higher than it was before. All right, so we're going to take a break. Chad and I are going to take a breather. When we return, we're going to preview the Brewers series. Plus, we're going to talk to Luke Canallis, who's our guest this week on our current episode of our podcast. He's going to chat about whether the Cubs should be buyers or sellers at the deadline. We'll be right back on the Friendly Confines Extra Innings after this.
This Tuesday night at the Bar Room, Dan and Aldo are going to talk movie femme fatales. These are women playing dangerous characters. They are sexy. Remember Ali Lartner in the movie Obsessed? Or Selma Hayek in Savages? Femme fatales are also manipulative, like Halle Berry in Swordfish. Or Demi Moore in Disclosure, and Jennifer Lopez in U-Turn and Hustlers. These characters will commit crimes to get their way, like Nev Campbell and Denise Richards in Wild Things, and Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon in Bound. Who's your favorite movie femme fatale? Leave a comment below, or why don't you join us at 7:30 Central live and interact with us. And we've got a special guest who will bring her favorites, Rachel Van Horante. Can't catch us live? Then watch on demand on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcast. It's Tuesday night at the Bar Room. Dan and Aldo bare their souls.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Yes, Chad, we're back. There he is. He's got his Friendly Confines t-shirt. You saw you can get them at Deep Dish Tees. Hold it up, Chad. Show him the merch that we got there. DeepDishTees.com is where you can get those beautiful Friendly Confines t-shirts. And Chad is doing a wonderful job of modeling that. They are great. We have t-shirts. We have hats. We have mugs. A lot of merch that you can get. There it is at the bottom of the screen. DeepDishTees.com/barroom. You can go there and check it out if you are interested in not just Friendly Confines, but we have
great swag.
All the Barroom Network. And we are always excited when people get an opportunity to wear our swag or any of the shows that are brought to you by the Barroom Network. So be sure to check that out.
Absolutely. We got Monday night. This is the night for baseball on the Barroom Network. After our show, we've got our buddies who cover the White Sox coming up right after that. But yeah, if you like swag, there's a lot of great Bears swag. There's White Sox swag. We're hoping we're getting some White Sox listeners and viewers right now. So make sure if you are whoever you support right now, let us know who your favorite team is in the comments in the chat. And let's. Yeah. I was wearing my season ticket holder Cubs hat, and I felt like I looked too much like you. And so I switched over to the July 4th. I think this is July 4th, 2019. Every time, and we talked about this during the City Edition stuff, every time I buy my last hat, I'm like, I'm done with the hats. And I always buy new because this actually matches my Sunday ball team that I play on. So it actually works really well with the red, white, and blue. So one of these days we'll do a whole thing. We'll show off what's going on in the back. Oh my God, Ryan, I don't know if we have a time to show it, but I just got one of the greatest pieces of memorabilia given to me this morning. It's one of those things.
Now you got to show it.
I know it's in the other room. I didn't have it ready. I don't know where to put it back here, but I've got a picture of Banks, Williams, Fergie, and Santo. All of them have autographs. And it's been certified on the back. A buddy of mine who's moving just sold his house. His wife says, this stuff has to go. And he goes, I know a Cubs fan that's going to want that. So Bob Shepro, if you're watching, thanks for having breakfast this morning. Give me a pretty cool thing. So let's move on to the 13th inning, Rhino. And I'm pretty excited about this because nothing that happened this weekend will matter. It won't matter if the Cubs do what they need to do against the Brewers. They're going up against Peralta today. And good news, team. The Cubs have jumped out to an early lead. We haven't seen that for a while. I believe Jock Peterson led off with the walk, and Ian Happ hit a 2-run dong. So it's 2-0 going into the the bottom of the first inning. You've got Kyle Hendricks on the mound, who's been looking very good of late. I believe he's won his last 10 starts, which I believe is the best that's ever been done since Jake Arrieta during the 15 season. So Kyle, don't sleep on him. He's doing pretty good. Let me preview who's coming up, and let's talk about what we want to see from this series. Tomorrow it's Davies against Woodruff. Davies obviously looked really good against a really powerful Dodger team last week. Woodruff is 6-3 with the sub-2 ERA. And then on Wednesday, you've got Arrieta, who we've got some questions about going up against Burns, who actually his 3-4 record does not show off how few runs he's giving up, which are around 2.5. Rana, what do you want to see from this 3-game series? What are you hoping to see? I know I kind of previewed my opinion on this, that if the Cubs do what they need to do in the division here, everything this weekend won't matter. What do you think?
Yeah, listen, I want to see at least 2 out of 3. I mean, I think they have to if they're going to have a shot of staying competitive, because if they lose, then, if they get swept, we know they're going to be 6 games back at that point. They're going to be in a lot of trouble. If they lose 2 of 3, they're still going to be, 5 games back. So for me, at least win 2 of 3. A sweep would be unbelievable. I recognize that might not happen. And, you're looking at a team that also is without Anthony Rizzo right now. We didn't even mention he's out with back stiffness, so he's not playing. It was great to see Ian Happ hit that 2-run homer just to start the game. That was huge. So, I mean, listen, Peralta's their best pitcher for Milwaukee. And if the Cubs can get a win tonight, especially with Hendricks, as you mentioned, pitching as well as he is, that's a great start. But again, it's going to be important for this team to continue to, hammer away. And this is such a crucial series, especially, as we get closer and closer to the All-Star break, because the further out they are by the All-Star break, again, it's going to kind of determine how the rest of the season, in my opinion, is going to go. So it starts tonight for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking offline a couple weeks ago to Aldo about my idea for a gambling show. And I promise you, I would have told Aldo, put all your money on Walker Buehler last Thursday to beat Zach Davies. And I would have said the same thing about the Cubbies tonight, that put all your money on the Brewers to take this win. So I think we're going to see a Cubs win, because I'm always wrong whenever I put all your money bets on there. So, we talked again when we started this month. This was an incredibly tough month, the longest road month that they're going to see the entire season. And we said if they could go 500, then both of us would be very happy. The team is still going to be well positioned. It's not going to be anywhere near sellers, because they're going to be well over 500. And here we are after that Dodgers series, after the last West Coast game, until they're back in Arizona next month. This team is 12-13. So if they can win 2 out of 3, You always talk in terms of getting swept or swept. It sweeps, and I just win the series for me. And so win 2 out of 3. That will take. So if the Brewers are up by 3 right now, it'll still be a 2-game lead. Yeah, if they do that. But for me, it's play tough. You're back in the friendly confines of North Wrigley up in Milwaukee. You're close enough that you can smell your home. After that, you've got a day off, and then you're on to Cincinnati, and then you've got 7 great games against Philly and St. Louis. I'll be at 3 of those games, which I'm pretty excited about. So write yourself. These division games mean more than anything else, any other outside division games. And it's a good start so far. Let's see if they can hold on. But yeah, it's early, and there's nothing like a humbling road trip, which the Dodgers had a humbling road trip at Petco Park against the Padres to maybe right that ship. You mentioned the Rizzo injury, the tightness. Hate that in a big guy like Rizzo. But we've got some good news about some guys that are making rehab starts and making some starts in Iowa. So we're help is almost on the way. Let's get through this Milwaukee series and see who comes this weekend for Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, they got to get Horner and Duffy back too. That's key. But that nagging injury for Rizzo is rough. All right, so let's move on to the 14th inning, Chad. And our podcast this week, if you've had a chance to listen, sports director Lou Canallis from WFLD Fox 32 is our guest. He was excellent, had a great information about what he thinks the Cubs are going to do, as we get closer to July. And as I mentioned, I asked him straight up if he thinks, in his opinion, ultimately the Cubs will be buyers or sellers at the deadline. Here's what he had to say.
If you're going to look at what the Cubs should do, should they be buyers or sellers at the end of July, I think you need to look ahead to playoff baseball and realize when it comes to the postseason, the best in pitching stands out. So if your team, all right, admittedly has a tough time at the plate hitting really good pitching, then I'm a seller. I'm a seller at the end of July. We're going to find out more over the next 4 weeks. I think it's important to get Horner and Duffy back in the lineup and hope they stay healthy the rest of this season. But if you're asking me today, June 26th, June 27th, what I think the Cubs should do and will do, I think Jed Hoyer's a seller at the end of July.
First of all, let me just say, out of all the people we've interviewed, Chad, Lou Canallis has the best background out of anybody we've ever interviewed.
Better than mine?
Well, it's close. I mean, first of all, the Jordan picture in the background, he's got the Northwestern helmet. I mean, all the things he's accumulated in the years that he's been on TV. That was pretty impressive, I got to say. You got a great background too, but that was pretty awesome from a all Chicago standpoint for sure. All right. So what do you think, Chad? Do you agree with Lou in his assessment of what the Cubs should do and what he thinks they will do at the deadline?
We've got so much baseball left to play, and no matter what happens on this week series, these 3 games against the Brewers, we're still a week and a half. We're still a bit away from even the All-Star break. We're going to know a lot more in 3 weeks, and if this team all of a sudden just starts laying eggs, and if this Dodgers series is indicative of where this team is going, then yeah, you've got to sell. The question I have, if they're buyers, and I think that's the question a lot of fans are having right now: who are you going to give up? Are you going to give up your starting catcher of the future in Amar? I mean, what are you going to do with this group? Let me tell you a little bit of hope, though, that makes me once again optimistic. In Des Moines, I alluded to in the last inning, you had Dylan Maples, you had Nico Horner, you had Trevor Williams, you had Justin Steele, all doing rehab. So help is on the way, boys. And but maybe some of those guys are the guys that could steal away some good pitching from the Marlins or from Baltimore, from Arizona. So I still am not in that discussion about buyers or sellers because I do think it's still very early and this team is very much in the hunt. Again, this team would be leading the East. If they were in the East, they're just a couple games away from the Brewers, who are red hot with 5 games, 5 straight wins. So, I will share this with you. It's a really fun story, which makes no sense. And I mentioned it on the podcast we did last week. Remember, this is the studio show, the podcast we record on Wednesday, and it's more of the story. When you said you got Lou, I was so excited, and you're so nonchalant. I thought you said Lou Piniella, and it was Lou Canallis, who was fantastic. And then my only last point, and I don't think we can get a screen grab at this point, but Rhino, I mean, let's get have a sports jacket or something. If he's going to show up looking that good, I mean, I don't know where you coming from. Little League? Are you coaching Little League right now? I just come on, have a little bit more respect for Piniella or Canallis.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Lou's a sharp. Aldo Gandhi, our producer, he can attest to this because he's seen Lou for a long time. Lou's one of the slickest guys on TV. He's a sharp dresser. He's always been that way wherever he's been. Mark Shanowski, terrific guy as well. He was rocking a polo. He was a little more relaxed. Yeah. I wasn't expecting Lou to be all buttoned up for me, but I should have known better considering he's obviously as dapper a guy as he is. So. Listen. Here's the thing.
Hey, Rhino. Your audio's cutting out just a little bit. I don't know if we're getting on every end, and your face has held up, and I can't wait for you to see that. There you go. There's Ryan. It looks good. Yeah, that's about right. So Aldo, I don't know if we have Rhino's audio back, but I'll just share that. Yeah, you're breaking up just a little bit, Rhino. I think it might be your Wi-Fi signal there in South Florida tonight. But yeah, you're rebooting. So I appreciate Lou's take, and I'll share. I mean, Chicago media has been calling this team sellers since this year, since the middle of last year. Chicago media has written off this team for several years, and this team, other than making the playoffs last year, albeit a very short appearance, this Cub continues to compete. This Cubs team since 15 is still the winningest run in Cubs history. And as a fan and as a season ticket holder, I welcome it. We still have some really great players. We didn't even get into the fact that they released the All-Star voting. It's got really popular players, 5 guys have made the finalists, with Jock Peterson surprising a lot of people, making in the outfield. But Rhino, can we hear you now? How's your audio?
Technical difficulties.
And it remains as such. So guys, because technology is not our friend today, and because Dodger Stadium was not friendly to the Chicago Cubs, I'm the optimistic guy. Ryan is the more realistic guy and the pessimistic guy most of the time, and I'm okay with that. You know what? We'll be fine. We're going to be okay. Let's put it to the Brewers coming up here, starting tonight. And I hope you're watching the game. I hope you're simulcasting us in the game. Enjoy the show. Stay tuned for the White Sox show coming up in just a bit. Some of the best coverage and some of the best guys covering the White Sox, the South Suburb Hitmen. So we'll see you later. This has been the Friendly Confines Extra Edition with me, because nobody else has a strong Wi-Fi signal. Hope you guys have a good night. Go Cubs, and we'll see you next week.